gentlemen, I'm Steve. I wanted to have a little chat with you today about last week's announcements with Apple, and primarily I wanted to talk about the Mac Mini. It's thrilled the community quite a bit in many different ways, many different things about it, and I'm excited about it. So I thought I'd just talk a little bit about what's made me excited about it and the things I'm looking forward to with the device. Well, first of all, it's the first redesign they've done with that. They went from a 7 by 7 inch box, which primarily was empty when you actually opened them up. The reason they went with a 7 by 7 box originally was because they moved the power supply from outside the unit into the unit, which was a long and narrow power supply that was needed. It was needed by the Intel processors that were built in those units. So the case had to be big enough to fit that power supply inside the case. But then the main board and all that took up a lot less space. You just had extra room. Well, they've redesigned the whole chassis to now a more 5 by 5 size block. And inside that block, you can tell they've done a layer inside. They showed this in their presentation, where they have the bottom layer is a fan, the middle layer is the main board, and then the next layer above that is the power supply. And the way the system is set up, the fan pulls the air inside and flows it through the different layers of boards, and then expels the heat out the back. And the CPU itself has a heatsink that stretches down around to the back of the device, and then the fan pulls air across that heatsink to pull the heat out of the unit. So it's a much more cleverly designed device, and it's also super powerful. So that's one of the big changes with it, is that it has the new M4 processor. This was one of the first devices announced that has the new M4 processors in it. And they also did something that we've been begging for a very long time. They finally bumped the minimum specs for the base unit to 16 gigs of unified memory. What unified memory means is that it's highly integrated with the CPU. So you have very, very fast access between the processor and the memory. But it is it's used by the system, it's used by the video cards as well. So it's a kind of a different type of setup than you'd find in Windows PCs. I'm a PC guy. Been working with PCs for my entire career. Built my own machines. I have Windows machines all around me. But I also like to play around with Apple devices. And I've an old 2015 MacBook Pro that has done me well for a very long time, but it might be time for me to look at some upgrade. Anyways, this is one of the first ones that I've actually seen that I'm kind of considering as a possibility, because they've kept it at the same price. That's the crazy thing. The base one still starts at $599. So your base unit is M4 processor, 16 gigs of unified memory, and a 256 gig hard drive. Kind of stinky when it really comes down to it. It would be much better to have a 512 gig drive as a minimum these days. One of the biggest problems with Apple is their upgrades are expensive. Really expensive. And the other big complaint is the memory and hard drives are soldered onto the motherboards. So you can't upgrade them. You can't change them out. Many, many years ago, back when, I don't think I can with that one, but the unit before I had the MacBook Pro I had before this one, you could actually swap out the hard drive. You could add memory to it. You could take it apart and do things to it. I actually enjoy doing that, being a PC guy. But then you move to the devices that had them soldered on the boards, and you're no longer able to do that. So generally, when you purchase something from Apple, you want to get a device that's going to be something that you'll be able to use for a long time. So when, say for example, you buy a basic MacBook or Air or a MacBook Pro, you'll want to get maybe 32 gigs of RAM, a larger hard drive so that you don't have to worry about storage. something that's going to last you into the future. But to do that, it's a really big, steep climb. So let's just look at the base unit again. It starts at $599, comes with 16 gigs of unified memory, 256 gig hard drive. Say you want to upgrade the hard drive to a 512 gig hard drive, it's $100. And say you wanted to bump the memory from 16 gigs to 24 gigs. It's a little extra money too as well. So you just keep bouncing through these upgrades, and next thing you know, you're spending way over $1,000 when you originally were going in at 600, or at least what you thought, to get something that's going to be long term. So for me, with what I do with it, I would probably start trying to keep it down cost wise. I would probably start myself with the regular M4 running 24 gigs of memory with a 512 gig hard drive. And in my case, I do I'm doing more video editing, a lot more video files that take up a lot of space. I'm going to put all that on an external drive. Currently, I use a SanDisk. This little guy here, you plug it in USB-C, 4 terabytes. And it cost me $160, I think, when I got it. Way cheaper than upgrading the drive inside the MacBook Air, MacBook Pro, or even the MacBook Mini. Way cheaper. So that's how I go. One other neat thing I found with the older Mac Minis is that you could buy a stand or a docking station that you can connect to the Mac Mini that has a NVMe drive, which is a M.2 drive, which adds additional storage right there on the unit. It's connected directly to the device. Or you can even get NAS connected devices, which are large storage arrays to store even more data for like large video editing pieces. So there's other options out there that you don't necessarily have to upgrade what is in the device in order to get the extra storage. However, you kind of do want to buy a little more than you need, just to make sure you can have something that lasts for a long time. Now, so lots of excitement coming along with the community. However, there were also some consternation that was caused by this announcement and this new device. We've already talked a little bit about part of that is that upgraded memory and the drive space being so stupid expensive. But like I said, you can plug in the external drive, but you can't do anything about the memory. So get as much memory as you think you'll need from the get-go. The other big issue is a total non-issue. People just have to complain about something. And given how amazing this device is in the first place, there were very little things that people could complain about. So what are they going to complain about? The power button. So it was noticed that the power button was located on the back of the device, underneath it on the lip, where you have to kind of tip the device up a little bit to get your finger under there. It's an interesting place. It's not necessarily somewhere that you would expect a power button to be. You would think it would be a little bit more accessible. However, how many times have you turned off your desktop type computers in the time you've had it? I don't turn mine off ever. So my Windows machine is on 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Only time it shuts off is if we have a power outage. So the same would be with my Mac Mini. Is I would have it on my desk on all the time. You move the mouse, wake it up. You touch the keyboard and use your thumb ID to turn it on. There's no complaint there. It's just looking for or manufacturing a complaint just to complain about something. The one thing I will complain about that I would rather have in a different location is the headphone jack. Headphone jack is mounted on the front of the device, which is nice because it's accessible if you're going to be plugging headphones into it. But for me, I would probably be plugging speakers into it more than headphones. I have earbuds, so I'd use the wireless earbuds if I was going to have headphones on. Otherwise, I just plug it, like I said, it's speakers into the back of it. However, I'm not too worried about that because I might actually just try to hook it up to my Apple HomePod Mini. Is that what the things are called? The speaker, the little guy. So I'd probably just hook it up to that instead. So I'm probably not going to be using the headphone jack at all. So it's not that big of an issue for me, but I think I'd rather have it on the back I don't know. It probably makes sense on the front. We'll see. On the back of the device, you do have 3 Thunderbolt 4 USB-C compatible out jacks on the back. So it does support up to 3 displays, 2 of them with 6K resolution at 60 Hertz over Thunderbolt, and 1 display with a 5K resolution over Thunderbolt or 4K resolution over HDMI. So it does have some versatility. If you go and bump it up to the M4 Pro, you get up to 3 displays that are all going to be the 6K over 60 Hertz using the Thunderbolt or HDMI connections. Those Thunderbolt connections on the M4 Pro are Thunderbolt 5 connectors, so they're a little bit more advanced connectors. So for me, I would take it and I would plug it into my existing 34-inch ultra wides, because why wouldn't I? I mean, I got the ultra wides here. I use a lot of real estate for my video editing, so it's really handy to have the extra space. One of the features I'm really excited to play with that I haven't really played with at all with my MacBook Pro is the iPhone integration features. I've kind of wanted to play with those in different ways and just kind of, I'm a geek. I love toys. I love kind of neat things. And one of the ones that gets me the most is continuity camera, where you can connect wirelessly your iPhone to your computer and use the iPhone camera and microphone as a camera or a webcam, or however you want, like recording video and such. So I really want to play with that feature of it. I think that's really cool. And there's also another feature they have that you can enable. It's called Desk View. And with that same mounted phone is mounted as a camera, it can actually show a top-down view of your desk, even though the camera is not pointing at the desk. Magic. I'm not sure how they do it all, but it's fantastic. I want to play with that. That's just kind of a neat idea. I would also like to see how well the gaming is on this device, because I am a gamer. That's mainly why I'm on Windows most of the time, is because all the games I play are on Windows, and we're getting to a point where games are starting to move a little bit better over to Mac, and it's a possibility that we could see things work. I mean, they claim that with it supporting ray tracing, supposedly games like World of Warcraft run 2.2 times faster than on the M1 processor. And that's not even what I have here. I've got an Intel i5 processor. So much older device. And I'm like, there's no way that would play it very well. So will it compete with what my desktop is? I don't know. I doubt it, just considering I got an RTX 3070 in mine, and I bumped it up recently with processors. I've run Ryzen processors. We'll see. I want to play with it and figure it out. So that's something I want to try as well. So anyway, just wanted to kind of cover the news about the Mac Mini, kind of talk about my excitement for it, because I'm excited to mess with it if I get a chance to. I've considered all lines of the Apple infrastructure. I would really, really like to have a MacBook Pro, but the pricing of what I would need on a MacBook Pro puts that way down the line for expensive. And we're talking $2,500 probably or more for what I would want in it. Because again, I'm going to try and get as much memory as I can for video editing. A decent sized hard drive if it's going to be my travel laptop. And to do that, you're just going to spend a lot of money up front to get those features. I considered the MacBook Air, because you can get that at a much reduced price to get the extra benefits and all that. But with doing video editing, it doesn't have any fans to keep it cool, to keep the air flowing in it. So that's not real good for what I want to be doing with it. So even though I would like a portable device I can take with me as I travel and do some travel videos, that's probably a better idea, at least for the time being, until maybe my channel takes off and I can start making a little income from on the side. Which, by the way, if you want to help me get this channel exposed better and have more people to be able to see these videos and check it out, if you would subscribe on the channel and check it out and like this video. That would be awesome. I would appreciate it. But until then, I think what I would end up doing is getting the Mac Mini with those 24 gigs of memory, 512 gig drive, just to start with, so I can start playing with it now. Down the road, I would probably consider moving to a Mac Studio, which has a lot more power, way more power. There's rumor mill that the next Mac Studio is going to be announced fairly soon, and it's going to have the option to upgrade to a M4 Ultra, which apparently could possibly have up to 80 CPU cores. That's insane. Yeah, we don't know yet. That's still a rumor, but if that comes out, that would be something to move up to later on for this type of work. Not the 80 core. I don't need 80 cores, but probably a base Studio would be fantastic. It's same footprint size-wise, but just a lot more power. And I kind of was thinking that the Mac Mini is actually more of a Studio Mini. It's what it looks like. I mean, it looks like a Studio device, but just less power and a little bit smaller footprint, height-wise. Anyway, that's kind of my take on the announcements. I look forward to messing around with this in the near future, and I'm going to check it out. So if you find this interesting and you're interested in other types of devices and hardware, and just hearing from a casual geek, gamer, videographer, YouTuber that's trying to make his way in this world, feel free to subscribe to the channel. And again, thank you for your thumbs ups, and I appreciate all of you watching and taking interest in this. And we'll see you on the next video. And in the next video, we'll be talking about some of the other devices that were announced this last week. So tune in, check it out, and we'll see you on the next video.